Assalamu alaikum, Amir Saab and respected brothers and sisters. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Slides are up. So I'm going to talk to you about careers in research in a very general, broad way in the time that I have. But before I did that, I feel I'd be amiss to not start with a verse from the Holy Quran, which, when reading this commentary, Khalifa Rabi explains is actually at the heart of a scientist. For the researcher spends his days and nights lying and sitting, thinking, pondering over the creation of Allah, whether that are laws that govern the very fabric of reality or whether they are laws that govern society. At the end of the day, the fundamental aim of research is to systematically investigate and understand how phenomena in this world work and get a deeper understanding of the problems and the topics of interest. I am incredibly grateful to Allah to have had the opportunity to pursue that as a career. I worked as an academic at various institutes in the UK, and in the last few years have transitioned into doing research in industry. And so would happily talk to everyone who's interested in both. Oh, this is the next slide. The other thing is, of course, that we're constantly reminded by Huzur and all the Khulafa that have come about the importance of research and intellectual curiosity, but also pursuits, and how that, is an important endeavor for us as Ahmadis. Now, what does a researcher actually do? I would argue that most of you in some capacity are doing research, perhaps not to the extent that is publishable, but the very act of it is there, where you design an idea, you experiment, you study it, you model it perhaps, and then you go in and test it out. This is all part of research. The additional step that often many of us don't do is we might end up not publishing our results or writing articles, etc., and seeking new knowledge necessarily. But this is what a researcher does. The fundamental aim is to do this systematically and to be able to present in front of everyone, in front of the world, humankind, what new knowledge we've discovered and how that might enrich society at large. And for us as Ahmadi Muslims, what deeper secrets of Allah that might become evident to us. The jobs generally taken on by researchers are pretty standardized nowadays, in the sense of research assistants. You can be a research scientist. You would normally do a PhD, which then moves on into doing something what is known as postdoctoral studies, postdoctoral research, sorry. But then you can also actually exist as a researcher in companies. And I'll show you some stats which shows that actually a large proportion of researchers after they graduate exist in companies in the form of R&D departments. Because actually for a company to constantly be changing, they need innovation. And innovation is driven by new research. And so really top companies around the world that have survived for decades, if not a century, are constantly evolving. And R&D is an integral part of their structure. What is the impact of research? How does this fit into the wider scale of our human endeavors in terms of other professions? So I hope you can read the graph. It's a bit, unfortunately, copy-paste didn't allow me to enlarge the work done by the World Economic Forum. But essentially the gist of all of this is that upskilling is constantly happening. Whether you work in any industry, you're constantly having to relearn and improve yourself. The nature of research is that you're taught this. As a PhD student, you are constantly taught how to learn and relearn And by the time you finish your PhD, you've realized all that you've learned is old and you have to relearn again. And that process is continuous and is a skill set in itself and is integral to actually companies and what they look for in their graduates. So often actually PhD students, when they go into industry, are paid substantially more than those that might come with master's degrees or undergraduate degrees. I'm going to tell you that I have a bias in all of this, by the way. I think everyone should be a researcher, so just take everything I say with a pinch of salt. One of the other things that happens is that when you do research, there is a byproduct to society. So your research doesn't sit in a silo. Often it's taken on by industry to create new products that might help. A very simple idea is that of lasers. Lasers was a research topic that was invented, but today it's in everywhere. Everywhere. Let me move on. So the point is that it's a really important integral part of society that we need researchers. So what makes a good researcher? Can everyone be a researcher? And the truth is that no, you can't. Not everyone should be a researcher. It depends on your motivations and what you're looking for. If you want rigid structures, then research might not be what you want to do. But if you're self-motivated, reflective, if you have any of one of these traits that are listed on the slides, you're curious about things, then research is a great opportunity for you to exercise that. You have a lot of intellectual freedom to pursue your own ideas. Let me move past this. So how do you get into research? So the general assumption is that you go to school, you get good grades. Generally, it's very, very competitive. There are many ways of getting into research. But the key criteria, really, I think, is that you have to have a very good fundamental knowledge of the subject, and you have to be extremely motivated. There are hours when you have no result, when the rest of the world would give up, but you must continue. So you have to be deeply internally motivated. Now, general wages that you might get here is comparable with actually industry. In some sense, but it takes a long time to get there. You might get to senior level in industry within 10 years. In academia, it could take up to 20 years, if not more. But you're doing this for the love of it, and you'll get opportunity to make money along the side as you go along. There is a deep shortage of this, of researchers in key areas like AI and engineering, and also areas that I'm interested in, which is quantum technologies, biotech. There's a lot of need for skilled individuals. Hopefully these slides will be available. There's a lot of important stats that sort of tell you the importance of research in the UK. I can just go past this. Can you scroll forward? So this is a graph that sort of tells you actually a lot of the elite AI researchers, for example, are in Google. They're not at universities, they're in companies, IBM, Meta, etc. And these are all PhD graduates. If you can just go forward, sorry, I don't know why it's not working. Yeah, go past this as well. So we'll just leave it here, and I'll end it with this slide that, PhD doesn't limit your careers. It actually opens up a lot of options. A lot of PhDs think that, you've done a PhD in physics, so that's all you have to do. But actually you can, for example, OpenAI is hiring a lot of biophysicists or PhDs in different topics because it's that synergy between different ideas that create innovation. So you would be in great place to basically provide those new revolutions and innovations. Jazakallah.